Welcome to the Job Search Digest 2013 Hedge Fund Compensation Report Summary. In our many years of publishing the annual compensation report, we've seen significant changes in how hedge fund compensation works. We feel a responsibility to present a compensation benchmark that is comprehensive, reliable, and affordable. The Hedge Fund Compensation Report has grown to become the most comprehensive benchmark for hedge fund comp in the entire industry. Over the years, the report has grown into a very reliable benchmark. This year's report, with more than 40 detailed charts and graphs, should provide you with all the information you need to better understand compensation practices. This report analyzes data related to cash comp, levels of equity sharing, work satisfaction, and much more. It also seeks to clarify fund performance and how that relates to pay expectations. This report is unique in that the figures are based solely on data collected directly from hundreds of hedge fund professionals. There are no estimates or analogies here. Now, our goal is to create an accurate and affordable industry benchmark, as I mentioned. We've surveyed several hundred fund managers' employees, and the firms that are represented are both large and small. We get responses from all over the world. However, primarily there's a concentration in North America, specifically in the US. And of course, all personal information is kept confidential, so no firm responses or no individual responses are revealed. We surveyed hundreds of partners, principals, and employees during October and November of this past year. No single firm had more than 3 participants in this year's survey, so the firm-centric bias factor is not a concern in this analysis. Included are some of the largest and most recognized hedge fund firms in the world, as well as the small firms, which make up the majority of this industry. Now, the hedge fund industry is notoriously secretive, and it shows in that most participants requested that their firm not be identified in the firm list. Here is just a small sample of some of the firms that were represented in the report, and of course they're listed with permission. Given the large number of hedge funds that were in the black this year, it's not surprising that hedge fund employees were generally much more optimistic about their comp. More than half expected their 2012 pay packages to exceed last year's total, while nearly a third were anticipating about the same amount. In fact, 29% of hedge fund employees were expecting 15 to 100% more money, while 4% expected to see their comp more than double. Now, this really isn't surprising given that 26% expected that the fund they work for was going to be up 10 to 25%, while another 4% were anticipating performance gains exceeding 25%. And in last year's survey, nearly 60% reported positive returns, including more than 15% who reported double-digit gains. There are 3 primary drivers in the compensation formula for hedge funds: experience, performance of the fund, and the size of the fund. Now, regarding fund size, bigger is not necessarily better, and we've seen that year after year. Although the hedge fund industry is often referred to as a meritocracy, there is a disconnect between individual performance and fund performance. Now, one thing to keep in mind: common titles such as analyst, director, or even risk manager can and do mean very different things to different firms. And this is especially true at smaller firms, where each person tends to wear more hats than their larger firm counterparts. Now, the size of firms that are represented here are actually a very good cross-section of the industry. And as mentioned earlier, most firms are fairly small. And you can see here that only 22% of the reporting firms said they had more than $1 billion in their most recent fund. Nearly 3/4 of respondents reported that they had gains in their funds for 2012. The biggest bulk of them reported gains of 1 to 10%, while another 26% posted 10 to 25% returns. And again, just 4% were showing 25% or more. Now, fund profitability explains why the total cash compensation this year was up so strongly. Most employees worked at funds that were in a position to award substantial bonuses. On the other hand, just 10% of the funds lost money, with the bulk of them losing 10% or less. Although salary exceeded the size of bonus for every group except the top two tiers, the bonus still plays a major role in compensation for nearly 3/4 of the respondents. In 2012, the bonus accounted for 45% of the total pay package received by those who made between $300,000 and $500,000, and 42% of those who received pay between $250,000 and $300,000. And as long as performance remains strong at these firms, bonuses will continue to play an increased role in their cash compensation in the coming year. Now, in terms of bonus percentage guarantees, it's no surprise that we see very similar percentages to last year. The full bonus is guaranteed for only 5% of those reporting. Altogether, more than 9% of respondents said that more than half or all of their bonus was guaranteed, which again is similar to what we've seen in the past. In some cases, however, these bonuses come with strings attached. 13% of all respondents said they are required to invest some of their bonus back into the fund. And 10% of people who reported that none of their bonus is guaranteed are still required to invest some of it back into the fund. At least some of the employees in each of the job categories enjoyed some level of equity ownership, and it was really all over the board. And not surprising, of course, more partners and principals owned a stake in their firm than any other employee. However, what was surprising is we actually saw it drop a little bit from last year. As expected, equity participation is much higher when someone has more work experience. And we see an even tighter correlation when we take a look at their hedge fund specific experience. In this case, as you can see, the more work experience someone has, the greater the likelihood they'll actually have equity in the fund. Now, in terms of work environment, being the biggest workaholic does not pay off. The highest earners work between 60 and 79 hours per week. Those who put in the most work, 80 hours or more, they actually made slightly less than those who worked just 50 to 60 hours a week. We've seen this before, and it seems like there's a law of diminishing returns here. This video is merely a high-level summary of what the full report shows. As you can see here, we've got a list of 43 tables, charts, and graphs that are included in the full report. If you're interested in learning more about hedge fund compensation, the answers are here. We invite you to download the full report at hedgefundcompensationreport.com. On behalf of all of us who took great care in creating the Hedge Fund Comp Report, we'd like to thank you for your time and for your interest, and we hope you found this video helpful.